You're with Outlook from the BBC. I'm Matthew Bannister. Chidara Muchineripi is a Zimbabwean with a mission to promote what he says is the best food in the world. Until 2005, Chidara was a busy management consultant in the capital, Harare. Crops and farming were in his background, but just a distant memory. Then drought struck his home district of Gutu in the south of the country, and people were on the verge of starvation. In his quest to find a new way of preventing food shortages, Chidara went back to an old crop, finger millet. On a visit to London to give a talk about how finger millet has been changing lives, Chidara came to the Outlook studio to tell his story. First, that drought of 2005.
It was really bad. There was nothing. And what also made it worse is that, the economic situation was also very bad, and there was no way people could get food. Even if you had money, there was nothing in the stores. The government had nothing. So really, people felt helpless.
So what did you do to try to help at that time?
I was not very much aware of what was happening in my rural home. When I went to visit my mother, and I took 5 bags of maize to add to what she had. But when I got there, I discovered that people in the village, quite a good number of families, had nothing to eat, and have not eaten a decent meal for days. And so, when they came to our house, they said, we know you have brought something for your mother, but your mother is far better than some of the families who have had no food for days. So we had to share that food that I brought for my mother with other families who didn't have anything. But then, the problem was, what happens after they had finished the little food that we had shared with them?
It wouldn't last long. But you were a city man working in the city. Why did you think that you needed to do something to help these people living in a rural area?
I'm also the village head of my village where my mother was living. And I'm also from the chieftainship family. But look, I spent most of my time in the urban areas, and I was out of touch with what was happening there. And I had no interest to be in touch with what was happening. It's only when I discovered the suffering, the shortage, severe shortage of food, that I said, look, shouldn't I do something?
And when did you first find out about the potential importance of this outdated crop called finger millet?
2 things happened, right? That severe drought, that severe shortage of food. And when I was reflecting back in life, when I was growing, my father, who was the chief, had lots of this grain. He had a huge grain storage, which would keep something like 100 tons.
Oh, finger millet?
Yeah, not just for himself, but for the other people, the extended families, and so on. And also as food security, not just for himself, but for others. And we never experienced any shortage of food at all when I was growing. And I said, what was it? And suddenly this came to mind that, it was finger millet.
And tell me about finger millet. What is it?
It is a small grain, one of those which they call the forgotten crop of Africa. Very little tiny grain. I should have brought something for you to see what it looks like.
And what can you do with it?
You make flour out of it, and then you can make what we call a sadza, or porridge. Yeah, thin porridge for your breakfast, thick porridge which becomes your starch for lunch or for dinner.
And is it easy to cultivate? Is it easier than other crops?
Very easy. It is the crop given to Zimbabwe or to Africa by nature. It is a grass. It grows like another grass. When there is no moisture, it can die like another grass. But when moisture comes, it comes back to life.
And so had the farmers in your local area forgotten about finger millet?
Yeah, when the white man came, he came with maize and other crops that they thought were more superior than the traditional crop. And that's how we lost it.
So did you set about trying to convert them back to finger millet?
Definitely.
What did you do?
Really, it was more like, what did we eat in the past? What is good about it? And, engaging them in the discussions. Some people say, it's a crop that is resistant to drought. It's a crop that, whenever you plant it, at least you come out with something from the field. unlike maize. When there's no rain, when there's no moisture, it dies and you lose it for good. Unlike finger millet, it would wilt, but when rain comes back, it comes back to life.
Did you have any opposition from the farmers? Did they disagree with you?
Maybe some seed houses, they would say, no, it's a traditional crop. But the farmers, because they had gone through a lot of suffering, they were very much willing to listen. They were very much willing to learn new ideas. And the way we engaged them and said, look back into the past, what was happening? Why were we not experiencing the severe shortage of food like we are doing now? And then, of course, someone said, finger millet is long shelf life. You can keep it in your granary as long as you keep it dry, 5, 10, 15, even up to 30 years. And they all said, shouldn't we go back to what we were doing in the past? That's how the engagement started.
So according to the official figures, by the start of this year, more than 40,000 households in Gutu district have taken part in your project or benefited from it.
Yes.
How has it changed things in that area? How are people benefiting?
Really changed it tremendously. Because now every family knows that if they want to make sure that they have food security and the food on the table, the only crop they should grow is finger millet. No matter if there is very little rain, you still get something from the field.
And is the word spreading to other parts of Zimbabwe?
It is replicating itself to other parts of Zimbabwe. And I hope maybe to other countries in Southern Africa. It is the only crop which will make a difference.
How often do you eat finger millet?
Me?
Yes.
Every day. Every day. I'm converted. And when we did the research to find out what are the nutritional values of finger millet, it's amazing. It has everything the human body needs.
Does your family ever tease you about your passion for finger millet?
No, I think they understand now.
Did they tease you at first?
Yes, exactly. That they really understand. And it was not easy to convince them, to convert into finger millet. But now they know it, they understand it, and I've got the facts. Research proved that, it is the best food, and maybe the best food in the world, I would say.
Am I right in thinking that your most powerful advertising weapon was your aunt?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What did she do?
She's over 110 years old.
110 years old?
That's right, yeah. And the magic is she has always been eating finger millet. Even at that age, she still walks straight, and the memory is sharp. She's very sharp.
And you're putting that down to finger millet?
Yeah. Really, it's such a magic crop, and it's the crop that we need.
The passionate finger millet advocate from Zimbabwe, Paul Chidara Muchineripi.